Oh, really?
There's gonna be like 6 business days or something. You just have the notes pulled up. They just ask me the questions, and I'll keep this pulled up.
I guess somebody's going to be bossy tonight. How many sacks does Pittsburgh have?
Funny.
All right, people.
Funny guy.
Welcome to Tyler's Corner for the 8th time tonight.
Bro. He's not kidding.
To say that we've experienced technical difficulties would be an understatement. We have
Nothing compared to
literally-
Monday night. Monday night, we was just ridiculous, man. Oh, my God.
We've started this podcast tonight 8 times.
For real.
So if you're joining us for this one, this is the official Tyler's Corner Miami versus Pittsburgh 2019 pre-game review.
Yep.
Meme review. Zoom in.
Meme review. But
Yeah, Miami is a meme review.
I don't know. I told my brother last week, we didn't even start off this way, like the 4 times we've started it, but Miami is a hilarious team. If you watch it without like being invested in the outcome, we
Like
are
me.
hilarious. Our kicker misses a field goal, and you just have to laugh again. Watching it the second time, you just gotta laugh. You're like, oh my God, we missed a 26-yard field goal.
Then a 17.
We got one blocked. Then our kicker friggin' hit the ground before hitting the ball, and it could not have been any further away.
He stubbed his toe.
On the first one, Justin said that's the commercial, the Coke commercial, where he's like, our kicker stubbed the toe on the ball. Justin said that's our kickers, and I don't disagree. So usually we start off talking about like Miami's offense, and then Pitt's offense, or the opposing team's offense, and then we flip it vice versa for defense.
We're not doing that tonight, so that we might give Miami some good luck.
I got something about Miami's offense I want to talk about later, but as of right now, let's talk about Pitt, because Pitt has some crazy stats on defense. They are number 1, numero uno in the entire country in sacks.
36.
Who is second?
Ohio State.
With how many?
29.
That is 7 by my math.
Yep.
Of a difference
I didn't
between
even count
first
it,
and second. And we're talking about Ohio State too. We didn't talk about this last time. Well, it has 2 really good defensive tackles and Chase Young, who is probably going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL. And they are absolutely killing it with their front 4. And then you got Pitt, who has 7 more in the same amount of games. I'm pretty sure. Either way, it was still 29. Like, it don't matter how many games you played. There's still 29 in there somewhere. That is 7 away from what they have. So, if you remember the Virginia Tech podcast, what I discussed there is that Bud Foster is a very aggressive defense in terms of they play the exact same way Miami does.
Auto.
They're predicated on speed.
Auto.
Oh.
Another technical difficulty for you there. They're predicated on speed. Sorry, go ahead.
They're predicated on speed, and what they want to do is be fast and aggressive. Then you flip the coin, and Pitt is very, very, very aggressive in the terms that they're pretty much blitzing
their style.
Probably every play.
Yeah.
But
you never know where it's coming from.
You never, like, it could be the corner, it could be the safety, it could be the linebacker. You could have. So what they basically, if it's like people you play in Madden, that, because I don't know if you know this about it in Madden, but it's not like football. Like when you play against other people,
right?
It's not like who has the better scheme and who has the better plays. Because in Madden,
it's all about speed.
So no, certain times there are plays that are literally unbeatable. It doesn't matter what coverage you call in like the video game Madden. So it's almost like that, but it's like they're literally running the same play over and over and over again to beat your offense, and it's just insane. They can't defend well in the back end, but what they're going to do is drop their defensive linemen on the blitzes and make sure you cannot get into the flats with your players, your speed position guys, your tight, or Brevin Jordans, or DJ Dallases, or Cam Harris, whichever one winds up playing, or or Will Mallory or Jeff Thomas, who can't play in this game, but like Mike Harley, they're going to make sure you cannot get into the flats with no matter who they are. They're going to make sure you have to beat them down the field and face that pass rush, face that blitz, and make passes that not many teams can make. I mean, you saw UCF kind of give them a run for their money.
UCF's fast.
I mean, Virginia, for some reason, beat the brakes off of them. That was the beginning of the season, so that may be, it's first game of the season. But then again, Miami has gotten worse since their first game of the season. So I don't really hold much stock in that, as most people do.
Yeah.
But
honestly, at this point, we can look at stats all day long, but it's like, if Miami don't show up, and I said it again, I'll say it again.
Miami has to be one of the more inconsistent teams of college football right now.
Now, I will say, I have high hopes coming into this game.
Yeah.
Miami's the underdog.
It was the same discussion that we talked about after Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
It was like, after Virginia Tech, it's like, bro, this is Virginia. We're underdogs. Like, come on. But it's also on the same side of that coin. This is a noon game in Pitt. It doesn't bode well for Miami, but it's just like, it has that feeling of them like, come on, we got to do something, or we're literally the laughingstock of college football right now, because I made fun of Florida State all the time, but at this point, we're literally no different than them. We have two quarterbacks. It's not the same.
I think Florida State's worse than Miami.
I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks, but like, Miami's offensive line is just as bad. I think the offensive line last week against Georgia Tech was really good compared to normal, but Andrew doesn't really agree.
I think the Pittsburgh's going to be the real test. If we're really going to see, I don't think you can really test Miami's O-line against Georgia Tech, because Miami should have been 30 points over, like we talked about, But coming against a Pittsburgh defense, where like even their special teams, they're so technical, they're fast. They may not be as
This
fast
is the team
as
that I
Miami.
had. This is the team I had circled at the beginning of the season anyway.
Oh, really?
Like, this one is one. It wasn't like last season. Last season we killed them, and then the season before that is when we were number 2 in the country and they beat us in Pitt again. But this one has a different feel where it's like they're not playing to. We're everybody's Super Bowl at the end of the day. Like, everybody wants to say they beat Miami. And, after that, what else can you really do throughout the season when you're out of the Coastal? Like, Miami is that team. You got to beat them, and it just has that feel where it's like Miami could win this, Miami could lose this very, very bad, and it also stems from the fact that Pitt's offense isn't good at all, really.
Yeah.
Their total offense is, I think, 81st in the country, and we're 62nd. If you could pull the notes back up.
Let me just go here real quick.
I had my notes out, and then so
I just want to show this. Pickett, who's the starting QB, he's 1,600 yards this season at 59%.
Yeah, their total completion percentage was like 60. I was going to include that, but Miami's was only like 69% maybe. But it wasn't that big of a difference. But in actuality, Miami was like 30th in completion percentage. And Pitt was like almost 100. So we'll just go back to Pitt's defense. They only allow 100 yards rushing per game, and under 100 yards, it's like 94 yards rushing per game and 210 passing. Their defense, they're 33% on third downs, allowing people to convert. Their defense is 21st in the entire country. Miami is 19. So their defense is one that we're going up against that is on par with Miami's. And it's
their third down efficiencies went up a bit. It's 38 now.
On offense, yes.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, on offense, they are 38% on third down, which is not very good because Miami's is only 27. So it's 10% more. But
Miami's 29 now.
On the grand scheme of things, it didn't really matter. Pitt's total offense is 81, while Miami's is 62. Scoring offense is 103 in the country with 22.3 points per game.
for
Miami
Pittsburgh.
Miami is 75 with 28 a game. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they've played a
And
pretty.
Pittsburgh scored 156 total points. Miami scored 198.
Yeah.
But then you start getting into like where was it? The rushing. Pittsburgh has a little bit more rushing, but that's just because DJ just hasn't.
Mhm.
I mean, he's you know.
So they open the season. Pitt does. They play Virginia. They lose 14-30. I'm pretty sure they scored both of those touchdowns late in the game, if I'm not mistaken. If not, they definitely scored one. They win at Ohio, 20-10. It's a pretty low-scoring game. Penn State, they lose 17-10. They really showed the strength of their defense in that one. I'm pretty sure Pitt was winning that game, but that one seemed a little off. UCF, they beat 35-34. They barely beat Delaware 17-14. Delaware, who was an FCS team, they barely beat Duke, who was 33-30. They barely beat Syracuse, who I think is like a negative 40-point margin on FSU this week, which is crazy. Like, they barely beat Syracuse 27-20. So at the end, they have the same ordeal that Miami is going through right now, where it's like the defense is holding them in games, and their defense their defense is losing stature because of it. They're losing players. They're dropping like flies because they're having to be on the field so much because their offense is poor, just like Miami's. And but on the on the other side, it's Miami's offensive totals are really good. We're just terrible and where it matters.
Yeah.
We're 29% third down. Andrew says what it is now. We were 65% in the red zone. Like, those are really, really, really bad numbers. And Pitt is just terrible overall on defense. They do run the ball kind of well. I had those stats, but I think I got rid
They're
of them.
not DJ Dallas though. We got AJ Davis as their top rusher with 58 carries for 287 with 3 touchdowns.
So
DJ's at 73 for 486.
It's literally going to be, this game is just going to be the battle of the defenses and just trying to figure out what Pitt's offense could do to try to keep on par with what their defenses do, which is the same coin as what Miami's going to have to do. It's just going to be a very, very defensive game. You're going to need somebody on, because at the moment, I assume as soon as we end this, probably at midnight tonight, they'll announce a quarterback.
Yeah, they did say they were going to announce one today.
And that was the reason we've kind of been lingering around with this one, because we were talking about maybe doing it tomorrow. We just decided maybe it doesn't matter.
We wanted to wait because we both want to see Tate play, but it's not looking like it's going to be that way. Apparently, no one at Miami likes Tate Martell, and it's like, okay, then why do you even?
So I've got something special that's been cooking up my sleeve, I guess. Andrew probably knows what this is, but I just want to show you some clips of Tate Martell and what he did at Ohio State.
Okay.
So
we're not in the middle. Let's see it.
Oh yeah, so Andrew can see it. You guys will not see us, but we will still be talking and kind of commentating over it. People that don't know, I'll try to commentate what's going on in terms of what the play is. So what this is, just as a face value, before we turn it on, is this is a spread scheme at Ohio State.
Oh, and I see Ohio State is destroying. So
Tate was a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So a lot of these are backup footage, and it's like he's playing backup. These are still D1 kids.
Right.
And as you'll see, his arm is really, really good on some of these throws. He shows very good quickness in space. A lot of the things that I've said, it's just hope at this point that Tate plays. I've got a lot of people at this point on the Martell cartel. So,
well, I think everybody wants to see Tate play.
It's like, why not? Like, I keep going back to this. It's like, I've said this to everybody. I feel like I've said it 50 times a day. This offense is a joke right now. You got to do something as Dan Enos to keep yourself at this job. Or if you're Manny, you've got to show something to these former players that say, look, we did good at the end of the season. We showed some promise. And not that saying it's even Tate. I think Tate gives us that personally. But it could be a change in just going to flat out just spread. Maybe Kosi does it. Maybe Jaron does it. I don't care. It's just showing that we need to do something better on offense. And it's going to these former players that are currently ripping on him, on Manny, saying, hey, culture's not exactly what you think it is, blah, blah, blah. And saying, hey, we at least started doing something well at the end of the season. So I think Tate gives us that, and I'm going to kind of show you why. So here we go. So this first play is really good from where it starts. It's kind of terrible quality.
Quick. Great sudden change ability.
Nice throw by Martell.
We'll take a look at Tate Martell, the talented freshman out of Las Vegas. Redshirted a year ago, and well, they love his short area quickness, Matt. Weber motioning out. Martell sets up for Hill. Hill in some trouble, and Hill tripped up at the 49 by Damon Hayes. 3rd and long now for the Buckeyes. Martell 43-0 as a starting quarterback at Bishop Gorman High School. And there's been a lot of guys that have come out of Bishop Gorman into college football over the years. Third and 16 now for Martell at Ohio State. Martell looking deep. He's got a man open. Caught at the 5. Touchdown, McLaurin. Martell with the strike from 51 yards out. Here's Tate Martell. We saw him one series in the first half. He threw his first career touchdown pass. Now on the sprint out, Martell to the sidelines, and Benjamin Victor down at the 46. Up to Denny Blunt, who is on his way to becoming his very own producer someday. He'll be telling us what to do very soon.
But name and my name both end in vowel, so I think that's against some type of code.
I would agree with that. Martell on the run. Nice throwing catch. Martell to Saunders. DJ Saunders.
That was a rope on top of it. Look at this ball, right where it has to be. That is just really well done.
Martell again looking to the air. Again finds Benjamin Victor. Tate Martell. Mario McCall in motion. The pass to McCall, who's got it at the 5. And now in motion. Martell to the air. Saunders with the catch. And Saunders stopped at the 30. Martell on 3rd down. Throws. Big hit leveled as DeMario McCall makes the catch. Martell flushed. Gonna try to get the edge. He does, and he's pounded on the sideline. Up on the sidelines, and helmet back on, looking like he's doing okay. 9:42 to go in the 4th. First down at 20 at the 46. Martell to the air. DeMario McCall with the catch.
5 wide, spread him out, and then Martell's feet become part of the equation.
Here come the feet into play. Nice cutback. Big lane for Martell. And now the speed. Got a block. Martell to the edge. Dives for the pylon. Touchdown. It's worth another look. It's a beat.
What the...
That was a good transition, by the way.
I just don't understand what the problem is with him, apparently, because we all just watched the same thing, I would hope. So
why not let him play? Yeah.
Yeah, like, apparently, we're just going to keep it, like, I'm going to have to return back to my notes. I actually know what I'm trying to say. But both of our quarterbacks are hurt. Kosi is still with a separated shoulder. Jaron still has an upper body extremity, whatever that means. You got to show some offensive prowess at the end of this season, or not only is Danino is probably going to lose his job, but it's like Manny's put in a very, very horrible spot at the beginning of this season. Like, he's got to nail this either offense down if he keeps Enos, or he's got to nail this offensive coordinator hire, or his little tenure at Miami, where apparently he's got all the answers, knows exactly what the culture is. All that's gone. You have had no time to figure it out because the fan base will have said your offense is foreign at this point.
Yeah.
Your offense is the triple option, essentially, of the game right now. Nobody runs a pro-style offense in college. Everybody runs exactly what Tate just did. Tate's offense, at least the very least at Ohio State, was a very pro-style spread offense. As in, it had pro passing schemes. It had levels, which is you have a guy go way up and in, and a guy come in underneath, and you kind of, you can play off the zone like that, beats man if your guy's fast enough. Like, there's very good pro-style passing scheme, like hitch routes. Like, he's got the arm strength to hit those hitch routes, like comeback routes and stuff like that. He's got the arm strength to be on the run, throw the ball over a guy, and make sure it doesn't float too far to the right so it gets picked, but just enough outside where his guy can get it. Like, to me, it seems like a shoe-in, but apparently, not apparently, I know this for a fact, when Tate Martell got to Miami, Dan Ito said he had a lot wrong with his mechanics and the way he threw the football. Apparently, he had a grip on the ball that wasn't right, and Dan Ito made him change it. So
now he can't throw the ball at all?
So now, apparently, if he can't throw the football, which is that part is apparently the reason they're not playing him, whose fault is that? It's like, we all just watched him play.
What is he? He's a freshman still, right, technically?
Tate?
Yeah.
No, he's a redshirt sophomore.
Oh, okay.
He's the same. He came into the same year as Tua and Kosi. So
he's not going to stay.
Him and Kosi are the same age.
I'd be very surprised if he stayed. I'm just being honest.
It's just, I look at that footage and I see a kid who could have been starting. If Jalen Hurts didn't go to Oklahoma, I would have said Tate Martell may have went to Oklahoma. Like, you know what Jalen Hurts is doing at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
If Jalen Hurts would have been stupid not to pick Oklahoma, but that's where I would have chose. And if I was Tate, I would have chose Miami all day. If you're telling me you're bringing Alabama's offensive coordinator from last season, co-offensive coordinator, when Tua put up the numbers he did. And it's just nothing is panned out for Manny at this point. And it's rough to see when fans say that they should fire him, because it's like, he's just getting unlucky. Like, that is just awful. But I do get it, because Manny only looks surface deep, because if you look into it, this is a guy who was a head coach at Central Michigan. He gets booted for his offense being archaic back then. He goes to Arkansas, has Alex Collins, has Hunter Henry, who are both in the NFL currently, and still gets booted, gets his head coach fired. He gets booted the same season by the interim coach. They call his offensive scheme archaic. And then he goes to Alabama, and for some reason he's a hot commodity again. And we're stuck in the same situation that Georgia is in, where Jake Fromm has lost himself millions and millions of dollars because of James Coley, who has run this pro-style offense into the ground, and that nobody can play it on offense because the defense knows exactly what you're going to do. And if they don't know exactly what you're going to do, it's not that hard to defend it. So who is to blame? Is like, I went over last week what the spread does for you, and it's like at this point you need to do complete opposite of what you're doing on offense right now. Not triple option. We are 29% on third down. We are 65% in the red zone. You got to fix that. And what does that do? What is the easy fix for third down percentage? Is just making yourself good and making yourself have good percentages where you're third and short, you're third and 1, you're third and 2. What?
The fix is that making yourself good.
Bro,
yeah.
it's just
Hello.
It's just going off in my head.
Yeah, you're ranting a little bit. You're getting heated. So the main thing about Tate Martell is last week you have Nkosi, who has a separated shoulder, which is, you do a WebMD search. It's 2 to 12 weeks healing time.
Yeah.
Which when Manny was asked about
that's a high ankle sprain. Like, you don't really know.
Yeah. Ice it. That's what you can do. You can ice it. We still have no idea what supernatural freak accident happened to Jaron, because as far as I know, they haven't disclosed anything.
That is what's really concerning to me, is they say Jaron for sure has a separated shoulder. And it's like,
they did say that?
Yeah. It's like, we all could watch the game. We all know what happened to Jaron. Jaron throws the football, and the guy gets in the armpit as he's throwing it. It's like, well, that hurt his arm. But for some reason, they say flat out that Perry has a separated shoulder. But they say Jaron has an upper body extremity. Like, that part, to me, is really, really fishy. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when Miami is very, very clinical in the fact that they make sure they tell no one what the injuries are.
Well, doesn't Miami produce doctors?
Well, yeah, Miami's a doctor school.
School of learned doctors.
Yeah, like it's just it doesn't make sense to me
You didn't
why
get that.
they are one way and yet another with another guy. And
Did you watch the press conference though?
yeah, unfortunately,
Where the lady's like, so they're okay to play him, man. He's like, yeah, they can play. He never said they were okay.
yeah,
He just said, Nkosi came back out with a separated shoulder, so he's willing to play, and Jaren's also willing to play. And if he says it one more time, the best chance to win the football game, I'm gonna lose.
I mean, at this point, for going back to Tate and why he's not playing, I would just venture to say that Enos would just be hard pressed to run this offense the way he wants to run it, because there's no other explanation. You cannot watch what I just watch. We all just watched from Tate at Ohio State, and
he's in a different scheme though.
But true. So why are we not doing that?
Maybe he's terrible under center.
Well, why are we then not going at shotgun is the big question. Because to me, you would find your best quarterback, period, and then adapt to that.
But the thing is, though, I don't see Miami changing their offense.
I don't see them changing it. I think at this point it's out of the discussion because they won't. At this point, it's whether or not you really, 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 really think that this is going to win you games, because it hasn't.
Well, that's what they keep saying. And like I said, if I hear Manny Diaz say, this gives us the best chance to win the football game, okay, Jeff Thomas being suspended does not give you the best chance, which I don't think he's playing again, is he?
No. He practiced, and they told him, just go home.
Is Pickney
whatever.
out?
Yeah.
But McLeod's coming in because he has one more game, right?
Yeah.
So we got Zach McLeod, but it's like,
yeah, I mean, we are
so you
at
got two hurt quarterbacks. In my opinion, Jeff Thomas is the best wide receiver. He hasn't shown that.
and then we
first
have
couple
one.
games.
Then we got one who got mad because he's not catching the ball 50 times a game, and he just upped the transfers in the middle of the week.
I mean, that's a pretty good reason. And plus, your team is losing horrifically. I'm just saying, from his perspective.
No, I'm not. I
We're
agree
talking
with
about
you.
Hightower, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. But then it goes back to the fact that winning solves all your problems.
Yeah.
Realistically, we are a good kicker away from being undefeated.
You're two good kickers away.
Doesn't matter. We have two kickers, not good kickers. We have two kickers, period.
Why can't the punter kick the ball?
It's a completely different thing.
No, I know, but at least he can kick the ball. Let him punt it. It's a joke. It's a joke, Tyler. It's a joke.
I know it is because Alabama's punter does. He kicks their short field goals
he does.
and he punts the ball. So, we are one good kicker away from being undefeated. So what does that solve? Like, winning solves all your problems. If you are Brian Hightower and you're winning and not catching the ball, then that kind of
that
but it's still like, bro, we're winning. We've got a good thing going. This guy leaves. KJ is going to leave for sure this year. He's a senior. Maybe Jeff leaves. Then next year, it's all mine.
Is DJ playing?
He's traveling. They don't know if he's going to play.
But Cameron did pretty good.
I think if we don't have Dallas, this could be a really, really, really ugly
with
game.
the way they're sacking and the way they're blitzing, I don't think we're going to run the ball. And if we have two hurt quarterbacks, it's like Tate gives you the best chance to win the football game.
Because what does Tate offer you? Like, he offers you the QB run option on it. He offers you escapability. He offers you pocket awareness. You just
There hasn't been a pocket in the last.
But still, Kosi has terrible pocket awareness. Jaren has pocket awareness, but he can't go anywhere.
And it's also stated that Kosi and Jaren both miss wide open receivers down the field, and that might be why Hightower's mad, because he's open down the field.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say, is that, and then also when you combo the fact that we're not winning with the fact that you think in your head I'm wide open, and you got Perry, you look back at your quarterback and he's looking down. Nobody's really around him, but for some reason he's watching the people that are blocking, and you're like, bro, like, I'm open.
Yeah.
And like you see Mark Pope, who I love Mark Pope to death in the way he plays. And then you see him on an underneath mesh route concept, and as soon as the rush gets past Zion a little bit, like Zion is not being beat. Zion is just carrying him wherever that defensive lineman wants to go. However far back that defensive line wants to go is how far back Zion is willing to carry him on that play.
Well, that's good because before it wasn't like that.
And then you see Kosi just automatically look at Zion and then looking at the line, and here comes Pope right in front of him, doesn't even see him. Pope is easily, there's nobody within 15 yards when he catches it. So he could probably get a first down because I think it was 2nd and 10, something like that. But instead, Perry dances around and he gets sacked. And you see Pope jumping up and down, and it's like, bro, like you got to keep your eyes up. And Jaron is good at keeping his eyes up, at keeping his pocket awareness and everything, keeping his head on straight, but he can't go anywhere. He won't go anywhere. He is our Brad Kaya. He is just cement blocks on his feet. He will not move. He just stands in there, and he tries to take it, but he holds on to it a little too long, and is another sack. So then we've got our third option, who, unless there's a big, big difference to what we just watched, which I would have to say is the reality, but
well, if he's changed his grip, if Enos has changed a lot of his play style, then he might have lost it.
But we'll just go for the simple fact that we think he's Tate Martell of Ohio State. Like, what does that give you? You get escapability, you get pocket awareness, and you get a little bit extra of an arm. Then it's like, why isn't he playing then? Like, he seems like he's got the awareness, and he's got the pocket awareness even. He's got just the full-on awareness to know which people are open, what the coverage gives me, and which people are going to be open from the beginning of the play. And then you press play, and then nobody's there that can throw it to anybody. So at this point, I don't understand that people are mad. Like, oh, give Jaron a chance again, give Kosi a chance again. It's like, at this point, neither of these people have proved that they can do well in this offense. And the reason I want Tate is not because I think he'll do well in this offense. Is because Tate will then make them be a different type of offense. Not because he's somebody, but because he cannot run that offense. What offense he will then have to make you predicate to run is ultimately the one that we should have been running from the jump.
Which brings us to our daily discussion of Miami spread.
Dude, like,
we're going to change this podcast to Miami spread.
The 4 teams that were in the playoff last season were over 50% in blue chip ratio, which means in recruiting they were all 4 stars or 5 stars. They're half of their team.
Miami's recruiting is
Miami is one of the only teams that is over that 50% blue chip ratio.
You think they're still going to be that way?
Yeah, because they got a pretty good class coming in.
For now.
But Miami is one of the only teams outside of the top 10 that is over that 50% blue chip ratio. So why are we the way that we are? And I keep saying it's not the players, it's not the players. I think at this point, I'm dead set on the fact it is 50% the players and 50% the coaches.
You can't keep changing every week.
I don't change every week. I've been saying this to players every time. And then now it's like our coaches have been doing the exact same since week 1. It cannot be the coaches at this point.
Guys, I know you've been watching this podcast since day 1. Go back. Go back.
How many times have I said it's the players?
To week 3.
0.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. I've just had this realization. If it's not the players, then why have we been doing worse and worse with the same offense? When our quarterback throws literally 10 completions the whole game and then posts his highlights on Instagram afterwards?
You serious?
Yes. When Michael Pickney gets hurt in the middle of the game and he's posted off on Instagram after the game what suit he wore, it's like, dog, you didn't even play. Like, you got hurt, which that's an extreme example. But then you got, like, guys like Hillary, number 75 on offense. He's just laughing and joking. He's got an Instagram post from him, and he's in the middle of the game. And he's not even playing. It's like, to me, everybody wants to knock on Zion Nelson, but he is the only one I see that is not on Instagram and posting his highlights after the games.
Wow, there's a reason for that.
But still, so does Kosi. Kosi literally did not win us that game, and therefore he goes, you know what? I played well. Why don't I post my highlights on Instagram? So, remember who I told you Brett Romberg was?
No.
Remember Brian McKinney? Did I tell you that name at the beginning? They were the two offensive linemen that came out after the Florida game and said, hey, we want to help you guys on our own time. You remember that?
No.
So Brian McKinney, we'll skip over Brian because it was just Brett Romberg. Brett Romberg was a All-Pro or All-American offensive lineman in 2001, along with Brian McKinney. But he went on to be a Pro Bowl offensive lineman in the NFL. And he has been bashing the offensive line, saying they're not, technique of offensive line that I don't understand because I've never played offensive line.
Right.
So he then says that our offensive linemen are a joke because they play worse we're 123rd in sacks given up out of 130. And he said we're posting our highlights on Instagram. And he's been very critical of the offense. So when you have people that have been doing awful in the game, we're not winning, and they're posting their highlights of the game on Instagram, it's like, that's the culture that Manny's talking about? This is the culture. Manny said, our culture is just like the one we're going to run in the 80s. I saw it with my own eyes. Gave me a lot of hope at the very beginning of the season. Because I was like, bro, I was there. I've been to the Orange Bowl. I know what it's like to be there. I don't know what it's like to watch those good teams, but I definitely have seen the same posters you have. I've seen the same names on the stadiums as you have. There's a banner that goes all the way around the stadium. I've seen those names on there just as many times as you have. It felt good. But now here we are with our culture of holding everybody accountable. There's the blueprints on the wall. Edgerrin James' name was on the wall. Dwayne Johnson's name is on the wall. Like, Ed Reed's name's on the wall. Like, those names are on the wall, and you're like, they got the blueprint. But for some reason, it doesn't seem like anybody even cares what it is.
Yeah, looking at Bryant McKinney's Twitter right now. Someone commented, tweeted him and said, you, as an offensive line coach, and Ed Reed as defensive coordinator would be huge right now. Bryant responded, I'm open to whatever.
He said before, because Mark Richt was a big fan of having them guys come on. So what they would do before the season started, when Mark Richt got there, they had early enrollees, and they sat down guys of that similar position group, and they talked about them. So Brian McKinney talked about the offensive line, and he's like, he was a Pro Bowl offensive lineman, mind you. He's like, I don't know how to coach people, how to be an offensive lineman. He said, I could tell you technique. He said, technique will win everything. He said, I was 6'8", 350. He said, but technique wins every time when somebody's faster than you, more agile. So he would dissect these kids' techniques on their highlight films coming out of high school.
Yeah.
And so he said he wasn't a good coach, so I don't know about that one, but that leads me into my next topic.
Well, real quick, it says that DJ Dallas actually reached out. Brian says, I feel really bad for a guy like DJ Dallas who goes above and beyond and reaches out to me to help the O-line. So apparently DJ Dallas messaged Brian McKinney and asked him for help on the O-line. So you still think it's the players?
Yeah. It's not all of them. That's what I was saying. It's 50% of the players and it's 50% of the coaches.
Okay. I don't think there's a problem with DJ Dallas. But
No. I think everybody could agree with that one.
So apparently Brian McKinney did a podcast.
Maybe that wasn't one he did with Brett Romberg, because I saw what Romberg said.
Yeah, it says with McKinney and Romberg podcast is the most enlightening interview I've heard in a long time about Miami Hurricane football.
I need to watch the whole thing because all I saw was a little snippet of people that had quoted it. But they basically, I guess it was both of them, they said that this offensive line was making themselves look like a bunch of jokes because they were posting their pancakes on Instagram. It's like, this is our culture that we have been harped on for so long that says we are holding each other accountable just like they did in the 80s, blah, 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 giving us all the horse crap that he could possibly feed us. And then you realize Manny wasn't in that locker room. Manny was here.
He watched it from the sidelines.
He watched it the same way I watched it, which was I'd watch it on YouTube or whatever. It ain't no different than being there at the end of the day. Watching the game is watching the game. Being a part of the locker room and a part of that actual culture that was there in the 80s through 2000s.
Well, not only that, being there on the practice days.
Yeah,
that's culture.
I do like what he says. Like, you win on Green Tree, which is their practice field.
Yeah.
Everybody says that. And at this point, it feels like Manny has only seen the same things that I have about Miami. It's like, Did you talk to the old school guys and ask them what they did on a daily basis? Did you ask them what they did at practice and after practice? Like, did you talk about what they did as a position group as a whole, how they hung out, how they were close? Because it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah.
And when you have 3 guys, I guess, that are ultimately open to coming and being a part of this team, and you tell them no, and you bypass them on offense, specifically for 2 of them, and we get the offensive result that we have right now, it's very disheartening because we all are, somebody has coined the phrase Instagram alphas. And I think I'm been on this, I don't think I've said it on the podcast, but I've definitely said it for a couple weeks now on Miami game days if I'm with people that watch. I say Miami needs to get rid of their turnover chain and touchdown rings.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those need to be gone. It's a joke. I don't want them. Just wait a couple more years.
They just don't deserve it right now.
And then just randomly bring it out one year and go from there. But there is Lamar Thomas and Ed Reed and Brian McKinney now, apparently, who all want to be coaches here at Miami. So, Ed Reed, he's in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But his coaching career has not been, like, it's not like an extensive resume. He has been at the Bills where he retired. Well, take it he retired with the Ravens. He signed like a one-day contract. But his last game was with the Bills. He's been their assistant defensive back coach since he retired. He said on Twitter that he is open to being a head coach. I don't think he'll get a head coaching job unless it's a high school. But he wants to be a coach. So the only person you would kick out on our defense is Ephraim Banda, which I don't like, but Ed Reed was the big part of your culture in 2001. The other one is Lamar Thomas and Brian McKinney, who are both a part of that culture. Brian McKinney is a part of the 2001 culture, which I think kind of fits more to today. But Lamar Thomas was there in 91. Lamar Thomas has been a wide receiver coach at Louisville. He's been the wide receiver coach at Kentucky recently, and he only left Kentucky because he went to go help coach Dennis Erickson on the offensive coordinator position for the AAF, which is the Alliance of American Football. I don't know if you ever watched that, but it was like a D league, I guess, for NFL. There was a team in Orlando. So these teams had to be made up of college players that were around that team. So he was a part of the Salt Lake team, and they were ultimately one of the worst teams because not a lot of college players are there.
Right.
The Florida teams were really good, Orlando specifically.
Well, yeah.
But he is currently a free agent because the AAF disbanded, and he was still technically under contract before the season started, so nobody could really get him in time. And so those are 3 people that are instrumental to the culture, specifically Ed Reed and Lamar Thomas, that know exactly what this culture is that you're speaking of, that you're basically putting disrespect on because you're not enforcing it on the field, and they are interested in coming. I'm not saying you hire them or whatever, but I'm saying these are guys that want to implement the culture that they had and implement what they were doing on a day-to-day basis and how to make these kids great and how to hold everybody accountable. Because you know for a fact Lamar Thomas is a very outspoken person. He was one of the main guys on that 91 team that was dancing and everything after he scored. He played wide receiver. And then you have Ed Reed, who has one of the most famous speeches of just all time for college football. Like, after he separates his shoulder in the middle of the game and he goes back out because they weren't beating FSU by enough points, starts yelling at the team, saying they weren't playing. They were beating FSU by like 21 to nothing. He said Joaquin was one of the offensive linemen that was on the 01 team, and he was like the team captain. He told everybody we need to just go out and dominate. And Ed Reed says, Joaquin said we need to dominate, and we're not doing it. Like, stop asking me if I'm hurt. Like, he's telling everybody they were playing awful. And they showed, like, on the U part 2, they're all like, bro, we were undefeated. We had not allowed a single point in, like, 2 games. He said, but he was yelling at us because we weren't beating FSU by enough points where we didn't even allow a point in that game. And so that's the guys you want. I'm not saying you get them, but for some reason, we're leaving instrumental guys that feel like, at least from my perspective, that are instrumental guys to this team out. We're leaving out an instrumental part, which is the culture, and then we're leaving out a good quarterback prospect, in my eyes, we're just leaving them out. For what reason? Wins, because we're not doing that. Like, if that's your excuse is that, oh, they give us a better chance to win. Well, it's like, dog, nobody gives us a better chance to win because we are 3-4. If you take out our FCS game just completely, we are 2-4. Like, we barely beat Central Michigan. We barely beat Virginia, really, because our offense was doing terrible that game too. So, I feel like you haven't said anything forever.
I'm just letting you rant. You're raving.
It's aggravating from my perspective.
It's hard for me to...
I understand it's aggravating for every Miami fan's perspective. But for my entire lifetime, it has been exactly like this.
Yeah, I think it makes it hard, too, because Miami fans, and I'm just going to say it, Miami fans like to live in the past because they were good. And it's like, ever since
it just
then,
seems though that it's like so easily attainable to be that good again. Because it's not like they were Florida and got all the best recruits in the country from the 08 team.
Like, how long has Miami been in the ACC?
04. We've never won the ACC.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We only won the ACC Coastal for the first time in 2017 when we got whopped by Clemson. That year we went to number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
That was the first year we had ever been in the Coastal. So that's the point. It's like, here we sit. I was 6 years old when we won the 2001 National Championship. I was 7 when we lost the 2002 one. And so
it makes it hard, too, because Alabama's Alabama.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Alabama's been on such a streak as a team. And you imagine, like, when Alabama comes to your door and you're a 5-star player, I mean, come on.
And so how do you supplement that you can't out-recruit people? You out-scheme people and get wins, which is what Clemson did for the longest time. They just slowly had a better and better and better and better offense until now. They won a national championship without having, like, a top 10 recruiting class.
Their head coach makes more than Nick Saban now.
Yeah, well, rightfully so, I would say.
But, I mean, they're not going to win this year because
they
got 1 year for a title.
Up until last season, people didn't talk about Clemson as being like the powerhouse.
Nobody talked about Clemson ever.
Even when, they did.
You know what I mean.
They had Deshaun Watson, and they had these people that just took risk on the team because their offense was good, and they just slowly became a powerhouse where they are now, right now, after winning a national championship, are getting the elite recruits in the country.
But
and competing with Alabama
Miami,
on the guy.
I feel like Miami has risk takers. Well, I thought they did. Like Quarterman and Pickney, I thought they were risk takers. But it's like, I don't know if the rest of the team is terrible, and they're just like.
I don't think Shaq and Pickney can do any wrong this season. Where I don't remember them as some of the great linebackers in this program.
Yeah,
I know that's not what you were saying. I just feel like saying that.
I know, but it's like I don't feel like they're doing as good as they did last year.
Oh, true. Yeah, for sure.
Which we talked about that in private, which I don't want to say what I said in private on here.
I don't even remember.
About their draft position.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
I don't
that is what it is at this point.
But it's like DJ Dallas, he's one of those Ed Reed, Fred Taylor, like tenacity.
Yeah.
Drive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you don't have an O-line.
Apparently, according to Manny, he says all these kids that we have in the 2020 class want to be Miami Hurricanes. And it's like, at the end of the day, that's like saying, I want to be a Crimson Tide. Like,
no, I mean, I get it.
Miami is always in this upper echelon in terms of reputation for not exactly like people want to come here.
Yeah, in the past, yeah.
But I'm saying even now, like, North Carolina beat us and they stormed the field. Like, people beat us and they storm the field and like act like it's crazy, which to some people I can see why, because Miami is this reputation that is always at the top. And then you take it down to recruits, it's like everybody's like, oh, Miami would be a dope school, but they suck. Like Miami is always on their radar, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like Miami is supposed to be the school that they're not supposed to suck.
Yeah.
It's like when Miami suck, it's like it feels wrong because it's not supposed to be that way.
Because it feels like the blueprint is so easy right now. Like, what was the blueprint for these good teams? Specifically 01 because recruiting was done a little more under the table back in the 80s and 90s. So in 2001, they just recruited Florida. Who are the best kids in Florida?
And honestly, though,
I don't think that's necessarily possible now.
I think that was kind of a luck.
Well, no, they got good.
No, I mean 2001.
That's what I'm saying. You need people to take risk in order to get you the luck, per se.
Yeah.
Like Clemson.
No,
Clemson had Deshaun Watson, who was a 5-star quarterback. Take a chance.
2001 Miami to get the players that they did was luck. To get all those good players.
You also,
like that,
well, look at like somebody like Willis McGahee. He came out of high school at 6'2", 220. Ran a 4.3 40 at running back. Look at Sean Taylor. He came out of high school, 6'3", 215, 220. Ran a 4.3 40.
Yeah, but they're all beasts.
That's what I'm saying. They don't make people like that in general now. Like, bro, they just don't come that way. Like, no, you watch Sean Taylor highlights and tell me who plays safety like that you've ever seen. Even Ed Reed, I don't think played as well as Sean Taylor did. And it's like that could be just because Sean Taylor, he's no longer alive. Like we're holding him up, but Sean Taylor was a beast if you watch his every down plays. Like there's somebody out there that has all of his plays from nearly every game, and you could just watch him play throughout the game, and it's insane. So I don't even remember where I was at. We got on substitute tangent.
We're talking about they don't make them like that anymore.
Like you got to recruit Florida. You got to keep your kids that love Miami. You got to get people that are risk takers and want to make this program better and care about it, not just because they think they'll get more followers or whatever. Because that's what it feels like now. I can't stand going on Instagram on Saturdays after the games. It's so annoying.
Yeah, Tyler doesn't even want to see me after the games.
Well, that's a whole different reason because you say we're always going to lose. I know this has nothing to do with Pitt. It just doesn't make sense, like, why we are the way we are when we could be so much better. And I don't feel like we're even going to talk about the games half the time on previews. So we're just going to.
I typed in Hurricanes best players, and Kosi pops up.
Okay, well, whatever.
There he is.
I seen him. Yeah.
With that hair.
He was a pretty sought-after recruit.
Yeah. What happened?
I feel like I beat everything that I don't know what else to say. I have nothing else written down. I have nothing else written down from the fact that I said that we needed Ed Reed as a coach. Like, I have nothing else after that.
Let's talk score.
That's what I wanted to do.
Let's talk score. What do you think? You always go first. I'll go first. I'm pulling for Miami. I think Miami's going to do it.
I feel like this every time.
Again, I'm sorry.
Dog.
I'm excited.
I feel like every time we have to give two scores.
Miami's going to win it.
Which Miami shows up?
Miami's winning by 3. They had their home game streak. Whatever. They're getting out on the road. They're going to get some fresh air. They're going to be in Pittsburgh. They're going to show up. They're already counted as the underdogs. We're going to say that Miami as the underdog is going to show up. They got the chip on their shoulder. I'm giving it to Miami 25-17.
24-17.
24-17.
25 is on our.
They can get 25.
Yeah, they can.
25-17. They're going for 2 because they can't kick it. Well, hey, by the way, why not go for 2 every time? Because you can't kick the ball.
25 also infers that Miami makes a field goal. Yeah. Because it's 21 to 28.
Yeah, they might make a, I'm sticking with it. 25-17.
I'm always wrong. So, I'm going to say Miami loses. I'm going to reverse psychology, destiny, and what destiny has to say.
All right.
No, for real, I don't see Miami really pulling this off.
If they lose, it's your fault.
Probably. They lost last week because it's your fault. So
they're going to win.
I would say they're not going to kick a field goal. 14-10. It's really going to be really, really low scoring. Pitt's offense is terrible. 14-10 Miami.
It's going to be a defensive game.
Miami's not going to kick a field goal.
Low offensive yards. Cameron.
I'll give them 17-10. McKicken makes one. Or Cameron Price. He comes back too.
Oh, that's right.
And McKicken.
25-17, ladies and gentlemen.
McKicken was about to go McMissin.
McKicken, McChicken.
So I don't know. I don't feel like I make any sense when I rant about Miami.
You like to say the same things
I do.
every podcast.
But it's like that's always what's in my mind. Like we're still the same way.
I think I've heard spread like
No, come on. I've not said spread that many times. I've talked about how better
past
offensive
week and a half.
Okay, yeah,
spread
that's
like 100 times.
That's understandable. No, it's his last podcast. Is really what
This
I
is
want to
Tyler's corner with the spread offense. Next week.
This is my own corner of the internet. That's what that means.
Next week, we're going to be in the spread podcast form. We're going to be back from the table.
Join us on the Spread YouTube channel. Link in the description.
I'm going to say Kosi plays. I say Kosi starts.
Yeah, then that all hinges on who plays. I've been ranting for so long. I totally forgot about all that.
I don't know. Jaron might start, but
This all hinges on who plays. But I'd say 17-10. We may get a defensive touchdown.
Honestly, I think they're both going to play. They're going to play because they're both going to get hurt, and then it's going to be bad.
And their kicker stubbed
Which
the toe.
Pittsburgh's quarterback did get hurt earlier this season.
Did he really? I didn't look at any of their players because their stats on offense were just so average.
Yeah, their defense
or below
stats
average.
are
That was
what's
just
really good.
But I guess as we just start closing this out, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like.
Shoulder injury.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Does it say which arm? It's probably the left. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like. Let us know what you think. Somebody commented last week. I was like, hey, but you wasn't like typical Miami fashion where you just bash whatever I said. So, which is typical because even when I'm like doing anything, people DM me or message me. It's usually the awful things, but just comment. Let me know if you guys agreed. If you think Miami has lost its way with culture and we're just saying that word for no reason, and if you agree on Tate, maybe. If you don't agree on Tate, if you think Kosey's the guy, if you think Jaren's the guy, you think that Tate is the guy, whatever. If you think we're running the right system or we're not, whatever. Follow me on Twitter, Tyler's Corner, capital T, capital C. Follow Andrew on Twitter if he wants that.
Yeah. It's mostly just like Christian stuff, but yeah.
He doesn't post anything really. But yeah.
Pickett left Delaware injured.
Oh, wow.
He left UCF injured, but then came back out and played. It doesn't really say, but he does have a shoulder injury, so they're basically the same as Miami, but with a better. It's like Miami's Pittsburgh this year.
Well, Pittsburgh's offense was never that good.
But their defense is.
Yeah, their defense is always pretty good.
I don't even know if I even said this one. I said it in the last one. They blocked 2 punts. They blocked a punt against UCF and Syracuse, which.
Yeah, Pat Narduzzi is a really good coach for them on defense.
Maybe he should come to Miami.
No, Miami's. I don't know what we're doing. So, if you enjoyed, leave a like. Let me know what you think, and
go Gators.
What? It's Go Canes. It always will be.